Okay, first of all, I want to thank you guys so much for 300,000 subscribers. I never even dreamed of making it this far, and the fact that I'm sitting here today, not long after the 1-year anniversary of my first ever video with 300,000 amazing parakeets by my side, it's insane. Anyway, you guys really enjoyed my last OC video, so I figured I'd do another one. This time, you guys wanted a video on the OC creation process from idea to character. And if there's one thing I love, it's creating characters, so you know I was excited to do this. So I spent the past week sketching and developing a new character for my fan-made Danganronpa storyline. You know, the one Tomoka and stuff is from. I wanted to make this character unique, but also interesting, and now I can help you guys do the same. Alright, enough yapping. I hope you all have your sketchbooks and your cups of tea ready, because I'm going to show you the 6 easy steps you can take to make a perfect OC. Hey there, I'm Parako, and welcome to my silly little art channel. If you're interested in art tips, tutorials, challenges, fan art, or you just enjoy my art in general, feel free to stick around. And hey, maybe drop a like and subscribe if my channel seems like your type of thing. Okay, thanks! Of course, if you want to truly grow your art and character writing skills, you shouldn't just take my word for it. After all, I'm still learning new things every day. I'm the type that really enjoys the process of growing my skills as an artist and a character creator. And if you're anything like me, you're going to love today's sponsor, Skillshare. Skillshare is a huge online learning community tailor-made for all sorts of creatives just like you and me. They have thousands of courses across design, illustration, film, freelance, and productivity, led by industry professionals. Skillshare is the place to be if you're an artist who wants to take your skills to the next level, regardless of whether it's your career or your hobby. And if you do consider yourself an expert already, Skillshare has something for you too: Learning Paths. Learning Paths are collections of sequential classes curated specifically for those who want to master a skill. And we're all creators over here, right? Well, don't you worry, because whether it's essential digital art introduction courses or courses specifically for anatomy or lighting, or even courses specifically made for Procreate, which is what I use, Skillshare has it all. One thing I struggle with is stylizing anatomy and proportions, so I took Sarah Holliday's course for drawing dynamic character poses, and it really helped me improve. I did some quick figure drawing exercises and then further practiced my skills by drawing a lineup of some characters from Undertale. Honestly, I'm really glad I did it, and that's exactly what Skillshare is here for. It's here so you can build up new skills, practice your creativity, and grow in all the ways you've wanted to. And guess what? The first 500 people to use my link in the description will receive a 1-month free trial of Skillshare, so you can get started on your creative journey today. Thank you so much for partnering with me today, Skillshare. Now, let's get creating, shall we? One of the things I stand by as an artist is the fact that you cannot create something out of nothing. If you're drawing or writing, that has to come from some sort of idea, emotions, or inspiration. Even the stickmen scrawled in the margins of your textbook probably had some element of boredom that inspired them. So that's why before you can even start creating your character, you need to find inspiration. Is there a particular style or genre of character you like? Personally, a lot of my favorite characters are women with red or pink color schemes. I already had a character with red hair though, so I ended up deciding to only use red for the accents. Think about the feeling you're going for. Do you want a dark and gloomy character or someone sweet and cheerful? As for me, I wanted to create someone, well, weird. I wanted her to have an unconventional and goofy hairstyle and unique expressions and a strange way of talking. I wanted her role to be somewhere in between a silly comic relief character and someone who might be genuinely losing their mind. I was kind of inspired by Spamton from Deltarune in this respect. And once you've got your idea, you're going to want to think about... Now, unless you want your character to float around in a void for all eternity, you're going to want to put them in a setting. Now, if you're like me, you already have a vague plotline planned out. Bonus points if they're an OC for an existing piece of media, like how most of mine are Danganronpa OCs. If you want to give them a design, a role, a personality, and interest that will be almost entirely dependent on their setting. For example, if your storyline is set in ancient Rome, you might not want to say your character likes playing video games in their spare time. So I recommend having a good idea of where they are. This is not only in terms of what country or continent they're in, but the time period too. Because if you say your storyline is based in, say, Japan, that could mean many different things. You also might want to consider whether or not they fit in with their surroundings. If you're designing an alien character or something along those lines, perhaps you could give them a bright or unconventional appearance to convey that. And one of the most important things, at least in my eyes, is creating a balance with the surrounding cast. This means that in terms of variety, it's good not to have like 5 copies of the same character. You've got to differentiate them in some way. Like, I mixed up Miu and Kaede from Danganronpa V3 so often on my first playthrough, and I did the same with Sailor Moon and Sailor Venus when I first watched that too. And I know that 2 characters may have completely different personalities and that you may know that very well, but if you're gonna make your work public, you've got to expect some people to get confused. This goes for names too. So while I was designing her, I made sure to have pictures of all my OCs nearby to ensure I wouldn't create a design that clashes with the rest of my cast. Anyway, with our setting out of the way, we can finally move on and start talking about the character themselves. This part is where we begin to discuss what this character is really like. What are their hobbies and interests, and how do they spend their day? How would they react to different questions or situations or opinions, and what's their moral alignment like? This is when I typically like to figure out a name for them too, as well as their potential talent since they're a Danganronpa OC. One way I was really able to get a feel of who this character might be was drawing the type of character I wanted. This means I wasn't focusing on the design, I was focusing on demeanor. So I made a few sketches with my pen of some expressions I thought my character would make, as well as a bonus sans, and because of it, I got a decent idea of what her personality would be like. So the character I'll be making today is named Mary Kibane, and she's the ultimate polyglot, which basically means she speaks a bunch of languages. I'll talk more about her personality later when I show the speed paint of me drawing her. If you're stuck on their characterization or personality, one way you can figure it out is by doing online personality quizzes. I'm talking about things like the moral alignment test or the Myers-Briggs type indicator, also known as an MBTI. I did some tests and decided that Mary has a chaotic neutral alignment and is an ISFP. Regardless of whether you believe these types mean anything or not, it can still be helpful to have a category to go off of when creating their deeper characterization. You might be wondering why I'm suggesting that you write their personality before drawing them, and that's because of the way I like to draw my characters. When I draw, I want my figures and expressions to evoke emotion, and it's hard to figure out what emotion you want when your character doesn't exactly have a personality yet. Which is part of the reason why I did those super quick pen sketches, so I could start to figure out who she is before actually designing her, you know? Anyway, with her personality decided, we can almost move on to the fun part. But first... Okay, so this is kind of an extended, more evolved version of step 1, but rather than focusing on where to start, this part will focus on how to ideate and finalize their design. Now, what I like to do is make a mood board. If it's an OC for an existing series, like mine is, look at the style and designs of existing characters, study what kinds of clothing and hair they usually have and how they're drawn. You can also find images relating to the aesthetic you're looking for, as well as some outfits you like, which you can look to when designing your character. I've always done this with Pinterest, but Pinterest has seriously downgraded recently. It sucks that there aren't too many alternatives, and Google isn't exactly great if you're looking for anything art related. One thing I like to do sometimes is scroll through tags on Instagram, and I know there are a lot of Pinterest alternatives out there. Anyway, let's start designing, shall we? As I mentioned before, I made sure to have images of all my existing OCs close by to keep a sense of balance in terms of their designs, as well as having all my inspiration images as references too. So what I did was draw a quick simplified body and duplicate it 3 times to create this Weezer looking lineup before drawing out a different design for each. Of course, you don't have to do this. Sometimes a design just comes to you and you stick with it. I remember I came up with Tomoka's design in science class in 2019, and it has stayed almost the exact same ever since. However, it is also very important to weigh your options and try different designs when creating your character. Because what if you end up with a really good idea that you never would have found otherwise? Trying new things when designing characters is integral to not only creating an interesting design, but also improving as an artist or designer. Oh, also, if you aren't an artist, you can always use a dress-up website or game to design your character. Picrew is one of my favorites, and you get to support independent artists in the process. And honestly, say what you want about Gacha Life, but I think it has some of the best customization I've ever seen in a dress-up app. As for my final design, I ended up going with a mix of my first design and my last design. I love the hairstyle in the second one, but the beret and outfit made her look a bit too much like an artist, and the third wasn't as interesting as I'd have liked, and I didn't really like the blonde hair or pleated skirt on her. Okay, with our design chosen, I think it's time we drew her official portrait. I I firmly believe that every single character should have setbacks, goals, and motivations. Otherwise, they're not a character. It doesn't matter what these goals are. It can be anything from saving the entire world to, say, asking out the person they like. And even if you may think, oh, but they don't have any goals, they're just cruising through life, then that in itself can be their goal, to just live comfortably and stay out of trouble. This might be a hot take here, but one thing I see a lot of people doing is giving their characters a really traumatic backstory and just calling it a day. Of course, I'm not saying you can't and shouldn't give your characters trauma. After all, it can make a good setback plot-wise, and that's exactly what I've done with Hayami's character anyway. But if you're going to do so, you must do something with it. Maybe someone they love was hurt by someone else and now their goal is to get revenge on them. Or maybe they were taken away from their family as a child and now their goal is to find them once again. It can influence their personality too. Like for one of my other ACs, Mayumi. Her parents never paid attention to her and bordered on neglectful, and because of that, she's a grandiose attention seeker with tendencies that border on narcissistic. So I think once you have those things identified, you can start finalizing their backstory and really fleshing them out. Oh, and speaking of Mayumi, if you see her popping up throughout the speed paint, that's because I'm creating splash art in this style for all my Danganronpa OCs, and I want the style to be consistent. Anyway, let me tell you what I came up with. Mary here has a couple of screws loose, to say the least. She's the type of person who always has her head in the clouds and can even be seen mumbling and whispering to herself throughout the storyline. She's very skittish and jumpy, but a bit silly too, and can even be considered obsessive, whether it's with topics, ideas, or people, which led to her infatuation with the study of language. As I mentioned before, she's the type of weird that dangerously walks the line between goofy comic relief and a cause for genuine concern regarding her mental health. As for her story, she spent most of her developmental years in solitary confinement as a result of her parents being public figures who traveled a lot and didn't want the world to know she existed. She spent most of her childhood in the same room, a library, which doubled as her bedroom, and was never sent to a real school. Because of this, she has little to no social skills and finds difficulty in getting along with the rest of the cast because of it. Despite everything, however, Mary isn't unhappy. She enjoys learning more about linguistics and language as a whole, and often spaces out during conversation just thinking about it. As the ultimate polyglot, Mary is fluent in over 40 different languages, but can vaguely speak up to 100, even if it's just a few sentences. Anyway, I hope you guys like her. Here's her final design. Maybe one day I should create a character that has a normal life, is happy, and nothing bad happens to them. Nah. Okay, we have our design and we have our story, so now it's time to turn them into a fully developed character. Now, what I'm doing in the background here is drawing my character interacting with the rest of the cast, as well as some extra expressions of her on the side. If you want some creative ways to fully flesh out and develop your characters, I'm not gonna go over it here, because that's what my last video was all about. So go check that out if you want to see how I like to develop my characters in creative ways. But for now, I'm gonna take a minute to talk about what I'm drawing here. I think it's interesting to think about how Mary would interact with my other characters. For instance, she'd probably do whatever she could to annoy Takumi just for fun, and Tomoko would comfort her when she inevitably gets scared at something small. I drew her interacting with Mayumi too. I'm sure that will end great and that she doesn't have any sinister intentions whatsoever. It's important to remember that characters do not exist in a vacuum. Well, I mean, they might. Nothing's stopping you from creating a silly avatar who just exists in a void. But if you have a storyline, you need to think about how the character affects it and how they are affected by it. Because chances are your character will interact with the rest of the cast, and how they do so is an important part of their characterization. What's important is not just their design and their backstory, but their motivations, their goals, their setbacks, and their relationships with the rest of your characters. And once you have all those things decided, then they start to become a character. Here's all the art I came up with for Mary Kibane. What do you guys think of her? I think she's definitely an interesting character, and I've never written anyone like her before. I know I do need more male characters too though, so expect some of those in due time. If you guys were following along with this video and you ended up making a character of your own with me, then please tell me about them in the comments or tag me in your posts. And hey, if you made it this far, I'd love to hear you drop any feedback you may have in the comments below. That'll help me make my next video even better for you all, and if my videos are better, then it will benefit you guys too. And you want to know the best part? It is completely free and only takes a few clicks. What a deal! Now don't forget to head to my link in the description for an opportunity to get a 1-month free trial for Skillshare. Only the first 500 people who click my link will get it, so it's first come first served. Thank you so much again to Skillshare for partnering with me today. Oh, also, I was thinking of picking up streaming again, but I was thinking of maybe gaming, at least sometimes. If I did, it would probably be games like Undertale, which I mentioned earlier, or Deltarune, or even Amori or Danganronpa. If you guys are interested in watching me play anything like that, please let me know in the comments, since it's definitely something I want to do. I also have a new laptop now, so hopefully I won't have to stream on my iPad anymore, since the technical difficulties with that are crazy. As usual, you should definitely follow me on Instagram, where I'll post finished pieces, works in progress, and possibly open commissions in the future. If you like, you can buy me a coffee from this link, or send a super thanks in the comment section down below if you wish to support me with a quick donation. All that aside, I wish you all the very best of luck on your art journey. I promise you're gonna do great. I'm very, very proud of you. Remember to drink some water, get some rest, have a very hopeful day or night wherever in this wonderful world you may be, and happy drawing! Oh, you're still here. Great. This is more of a test to see if people actually watch past the self-promotion and the outro card, so hey, if you're here, I have a task for you. Comment down below about anything and leave this fish emoji somewhere in your comment. I just want to see who actually watches these, you know? Anyway, love you guys, and thank you so much again for 300k. Mwah!